It's time for part two of my exclusive interview with President Trump. If you're successful in deporting these pro-Hamas agitators, as you did with Khalil from Columbia, was a former student at Columbia, is there any concern that in a Democratic administration that same provision could be used to deport more conservative thinkers who are also immigrants to the United States? Let's say they're Chinese freedom dissidents from China or others.
Look, no system is perfect, but you say, as I was with Khalil, well, Khalil's not exactly an easy one either, because some judge, glommed onto him. But think of it. The Democrats lost big, and you look at what's happening with Schumer, but the Democrats lost big because of the stupidity of, they're backing these 90% negative things from their standpoint. Men and women's sports, transgender for everybody, all of this stuff, they're all for it. And they're still fighting for it. But now they have a new one. We're going to back murderers, killers, and people that hate our country. We're going to back people that hate Israel, want to destroy it, people that are murderers, people that are horrible. We're going to back them. I think that might be 100% issue for us. They don't ever find an issue that's like a good
politically
issue.
Very helpful.
No, politically. I mean, this is not back in Khalil is not a great issue, but back in Khalil's better than back in these other, hundreds of people that are really serious criminals. It's probably a step better than that.
The EB-5 visas, you've spoken about them and the fraud and abuse of that process over years. They're basically immigrant investment visas. $800,000, you can get a fast track to a green card. You don't have to speak English. You don't have to have a special skill, but it's very popular. It's a big long line of people waiting to get these EB-5 visas.
We're going to have one that's much more popular.
But the golden visa, which you're obviously backing, probably is going to have to go through Congress. We'll see if they actually do that. But $5 million investment from a foreigner coming into the United States. Why should our citizenship be purchased for any amount of money, especially given the fact that you're America first, given the types of people who have $5 million to throw down for a visa or for a permanent residency?
That's why, because I'm America first. Because at $5 million, you're getting a lot of things, but you're getting $5 million. Let's say we sell 1 million of them. That's $5 trillion. We are now a unbelievably successful country, paying down tremendous amounts of debt. It's all going to pay down debt. We're going to have very little debt.
Separate fund?
But if you did, think of it, if you did $5 million. Now, generally, people that can pay $5 million are going to be job producers, okay? They're going to be successful. They're going to produce jobs. But here's another thing. Apple comes to me. A lot of companies come to me. They say, sir, we just made a deal to hire the #1 student at the Wharton School of Finance or at Harvard Business School or anything else, or MIT or Stanford or any of it. But they're going to throw them out of the country the day after graduation. They'll buy these.
Why should any American kid become a computer scientist?
And by the way, they're going to call it either the gold card. The problem is there's many gold cards. Well, I will tell you what my people want to call it. It'll drive you crazy. It'll drive the left crazy. They want to call it the Trump card, because the Trump card sells much better than the gold card. Everybody has a gold.
So you're not worried about any unsavory people coming in and taking?
Yeah, I'm worried about unsavory, in which case we're going to
be vetted?
Give them the money back and they get out.
They'll be properly vetted.
They're going to be properly vetted, but we're talking about a lot of people. I think it's going to be very successful. If somebody's wrong, we actually are very, very nice, because it makes it a lot easier legally. We give them their money back and we send them out.
Now, coming up, what President Trump did that made barons say, none of your business. Plus, an exclusive tour of the Oval Office. More of my interview with President Trump and some surprises next. This week, President Trump hinted that China's President Xi would be coming to the United States in the not-too-distant future. And there's also talk of a Beijing summit between the two. But what's the truth? Here's more of my interview with President Trump. Is there going to be a summit in June?
It could be. I mean, I wouldn't mind a summit, but there's going to be something else taking place. It's called April 2nd, and that's going to be tariffs. And China will pay, and other countries will pay.
Businesses,
we've been ripped off by every country in the world, friend and foe. And on April 2nd, I call it the liberation of America. We've been the fat, dumb, foolish country that allowed everybody to rip us off, including our friends. Look at NATO. Until I got involved in NATO, we were paying for the whole thing practically.
There's a lot of talk about a possibility of a recession, and CNBC had a report from the Fed saying they can't rule it out. It could actually happen. What can you say to Americans tonight who are concerned about the possibility of a recession, given the fact that you're trying to reorient the economy to a manufacturing economy again?
I think if I didn't get elected, our country would be finished to start off with. And I think now that I did get elected, I think we're going to have the strongest economy in the history of the world. And I had that economy in 4 years, with all the harassment, with all the crazy people after me, with all of the things that went on, even with COVID. I had the strongest economy in the history of our country. I had a stock market that went up 88%. 88%, number one in history. The other markets went up 66%, and I think like 71%.
Will we see a recession in 2025? Are you ruling it out?
We're going to have the strongest economic country in the history of the world, of the planet. We are taking in so much money. Now, some people are unhappy because, it has to come from somewhere. Some of it's going to come from Europe because not everybody's going to be doing as much business maybe in Europe and other places. But I can only speak for the United States, and I am a nationalist, and I'm proud of it. I love this country, and I want to help other countries, too. Look, I'm the one, if it wasn't for me, they wouldn't be talking peace in Ukraine and Russia because they're not Americans being killed. They're Ukrainian soldiers and Russian soldiers, and I'm trying to make peace. And again, it has not that much to do other than we don't want to be paying Bill. Biden spent $350 billion on that war, got nothing for it.
How do interest rates end up going down when we're servicing our debt to the tune of about $1.2 trillion a year, and there's still deficit spending in Congress? How do we do that?
We have to pay off our debt. We have to start paying it off. Look, we're very under-leveraged when you look at the asset value of this country, but we're over-leveraged in terms of cash flow. We're going to have a big cash flow. We're going to take in, for years we allowed our country to be raped and pillaged, terrible expressions. And that's what happened. Much of it was done by our friends. Look at the European Union. We can't sell cars to them, but they sell millions of cars to us. They don't take our agricultural product, but we take theirs. The days are changing. We're not going to let this happen.
It's Barron's birthday on Thursday.
Yes.
And we've all as a country seen him grow up and see him really grow up.
Tall.
How often do you talk to him? Do you talk to him every day?
All the time.
What do you see for
all my kids? I speak to all my kids.
What do you see for his future, given his aptitude in certain areas? Business, politics, what?
I think business, and I think he could probably, if you look at my kids, all my kids, they've been very good. They're very smart, always good students, always the big schools, the good schools, hard to get into schools. Barron's a very smart guy. But Eric and Don, Tiffany, Ivanka, they're smart people. I'm lucky. Look, you have to be a little bit lucky, too. It's not like that. But they seem to be very smart. Not only seem to be, they are very smart. And they're good kids, and they work hard, and they love our country, and they're proud of their father. And, we have a very good relationship.
You talked the other day about how music was your aptitude as a child, that your father saw that you had a musical aptitude. And so it's kind of obvious in kids early on what they're good at. But is Barron's aptitude, in your view, business or politics? Maybe
technology. He can look at a computer. I'd try turning off his car, turn it off. I'd turn off his laptop. I said, oh, good. Now. And I go back 5 minutes later, he's got his laptop. I said, how'd you do that? None of your business, Dad. No, he's got an unbelievable aptitude in technology.
What do you do when you can't sleep? Because you don't sleep. You're like me, you don't sleep at all. I know you just don't need a lot of sleep. But when you can't fall asleep, you wake up in the night, how do you go back to sleep?
Well, the only thing I totally admired about Sleepy Joe Biden is the following. He'd go to a beach. He'd lay down in a cot, barely able to get his feet through the sand. He'd lay down, and within minutes he's sleeping, and you have cameras watching him. I could never do that. I would never be able to sleep like that. That's about the only thing I think that was wonderful. He was a disaster. This man was a disaster. I don't sleep much. You don't sleep much. A lot of people that love what they're doing don't sleep much, I find. And so far, it's been okay.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.